Hello, my DC brothers and sisters. I know it's been a while since I've spoken to you guys, and I hope all is well. I've been gone for a little while because I've been working on a new channel, Bonfire Chillin with BigDog. If you're in the Soulslike games or just wonder what my ugly mug looks like, head on over there and check it out. But I digress. We're here for everyone's favorite game, DC Universe Online. So lately, DC hasn't really been giving me much to talk about. They released, a few weeks back, released a new time capsule, which in the time capsule gives you the last 9 time capsules that they've come out with. And what can you really say about that? And oh, by the way, they give you 20% off of the new Unlock Vortex Resurgence Bull Jive at that time. Whoop-de-doo. That's not much for me to talk about or comment on. If you like that kind of thing, so be it. If you like me, that's really not moving the needle, And then you have the Homecoming seasonal event that dropped, and upon completion, gives you a new iconic ability and cosmetic. And you can better believe that they give you everybody's favorite percentage, 20% off in the store on all items and allies in the fortified category. So 20% off all items in the allies and fortified category. So again, if you're into that kind of thing, 20% off sounds good to you, then by all means, go for it. We all know my opinion on the 20% off of anything in this game. Pushing 15 years old, 20% off needs to go ahead and get jumped up to 50% off, because everything moving forward should be low price, But moving on, they recently gave us the Batman Day event, with, needless to say, 20% off of select Batman inspired items in the marketplace. But upon completion of this event, you get a choice of either 80,000 ally points, one of the Batman ally variants of your choosing for, coming in during the middle of battle. Some of those Batmans, they're not bad, but for me personally, you just gave me Superboy, you just gave me Constantine. I haven't had nowhere near enough ally points to level those guys up to their max. And oh, by the way, you told me that I have to get Flash up to a new higher level. So it's like, now I'm working on 3 allies as is already. I'm not very excited about adding another one to it, so I'll probably myself just take the 80,000 ally points to help level up one of the allies I already have. But those missions for the Batman event, they take place in Metal Gotham, so that does give players a chance to complete some of the feats for that area. It's a little bit older content, so it's always nice to be able to go do some of the older content. That's one of the good things you can say about some of these events. They do throw, they mix in new with the old, so to speak. So it's a new event, but they're recycling the content. That way it gives players a chance to do some of the things that they couldn't do when the game first came out 15 years ago. But now this week we have the Fearful Day finale, where they're saying you can receive 2 times the Mogo berries and renown for all the Fearful Day missions and on-duty events. So, they gave us a triple a little while back, and if you were like me, I know you all jumped on that, because triple does not come often with this game at all. These dudes don't want to give you an inch. They rather, you struggle and, strive and you had a heartache and all that stuff, and trying to do what they doing now, as opposed to just letting it be fun and just letting everybody, handle their business type of thing. But again, digression. But yeah, if you, with this new Fearful Day finale in the store, I know you guessed it last time, but you won't guess it this time. How much of a percentage they're giving you off for this time? You ain't gonna guess it. Go ahead and try to guess it. I bet you didn't say 20%. You know what I'm saying? Because if you said 20%, then you won. But I don't have anything to give you other than the 20% off that they're giving you in the marketplace, you know, once again. And that's for, I believe, the currency of, it might be all currencies. It could just be the Mogo currencies. I didn't bother to check because once it said 20%, I was out. Until it says 50%, I'm out. You know, if you can give me like, if I saw 40% come up there, it had my attention. But 20%, I'm out. You can't even ask me to look at that. You know what I mean? So, but if you're going to complete the Fearful Day finale event, it takes about 5 days according to the on duty or the event tab. I'm sorry. According to the event tab, it says it's going to take about 5 days to complete the event. And upon the event completion, you would get a pack of 40 Mogo berries and a destiny token. And I can't help but feel like they heard my cries the last time about that pack of 20 Mogo berries that they were trying to make us work for. And I was just like, this definitely isn't even worth it. You know what I mean? But now they done went up to 40. And you can kind of say it is, maybe, to you possibly. To me, not really. You know what I mean? I was there for the triple Mogo event. So at this time, I just basically need those Cordian alloys to go ahead and finish off my last upgradable piece, which I think is the hands piece. I think it is. Once I get that up there, I think I'm gonna probably like level 20 on that. I finished the back piece, maxed out. The hands piece just needs to get to level 40 and I'll be finished with that. But you already know it's a super grind to do that, so who knows how long the grind will take for that. I apologize for being away for so long from you guys, you know what I mean? But when you really look at it, DC, it hasn't really changed much. The stores are still giving 20% off. They were giving that back in my last time I was on here talking. I think one time they did give us that 30% off. I was like, these dudes listening to me? But, I see that they aren't, because they went right back to that 20% off, and that's not, again, it's not moving the needle. So, yeah, you know how I feel about that. Giving 20% off in a game that's 15 years old, we passed that. You know what I mean? I bet a large number of my DC brothers and sisters out here have kids that's 15 years or older. You know what I mean? And that's just ridiculous, the 20% off. But anyway, I'm not here to bash the game. We all know I have a soft spot for it, as I'm sure a lot of you do out there. As much as we see is wrong with the game, we would love the game to be much better. So one of the things I've seen, I've been on the Reddit boards and I see a couple people from time to time always mention, how come no one runs the older content? And like I was saying earlier, I gotta commend them on coming up with these events and then putting the older content as the main focal point of those events. So again, it's like mixing some new with old. We get to play some of those older missions, alerts, raids that no one's running anymore. You go to some of those worlds and they're empty. You can't do a lot of those stuff. You can't fight the world boss on your own, that type of thing. So it does give players who didn't have the opportunity to play back then a chance to do some of that content with other players. So I would like to commend them on that. They did that with the Superman event a little while ago as well, and then they even have it with the Homecoming event where you go back to Titan's Tower. You can take on the world bosses there, as well as do some of the little solo daily missions that they have there. But some things that I would think that would bring some of those older worlds, more players, would be to maybe consider giving more incentives for that older content to get some of the OG players to come back and do some of those older events, some of those older missions, raids, alerts, things like that, where a lot of us still need, feats from those events. And it's just sad that we have to leave those events undone, those feats points out there on the table, because there just isn't enough players willing to run it. I would just maybe, give, I'm gonna say 3, but I understand if you just do 2, but I'm gonna say give 3 times the source marks, or things like that for the older content, to get people to just come up and show up, because I know it's a lot of things out there where you need source marks to buy other things to help level your tune up or character up. So source marks is always a good thing to have. So if you're giving like 3 times the source marks for doing some of the older content, that would be great. Now, I'm not just saying blanket 3 times over all of the content. Maybe just do like a running rotation of the old content. Maybe start from tier 1, you know what I mean? Pick an event and then run that for a week, and then maybe tier 2, pick an event, run that for a week, give you triple for all of the things you do in there that'll get people to come back, do some of the old daily missions, the alerts, the raids. People can get those feats done for that stuff there. Maybe be able to beat some of those world bosses in those worlds there. And, now that, allows people to get some of the older content done. I'm thinking maybe something like an amusement mile. I have stuff there that I haven't completed because I'm like, man, there's too much stuff to do here. I don't feel like doing all this by myself. Get that running again. We can go, I think that might be tier 2. I don't even remember what that is. I just remember seeing it on my list because I was like, hide this mission, because I'm tired of seeing it on my list. But yeah, if you go ahead and give 3 times the source marks, for instance, on some of the older content, I'm sure you'll get some players to come back and start running it, hopefully enough to just, get the newer players caught up, and then, that kind of brings me to some of the quality of life suggestions, for us DC Universe players. One of the things where I'll be talking about feats, and it can go along with missions as well, is I would like it if they were to go ahead and allow you to pin missions to your HUD. So what I mean by that is, say you're working on a feat and I'm just gonna say Flashpoint Gotham is the first thing that popped into my head. So let's say you're in Flashpoint Gotham and you're trying to complete some feats out there. Now there's a few feats in every world that you could just do solo while you're out in the world, and you just doing missions. There's things you can get done, but what's sad is you can't keep track of all of them because there's no way to pin them to your HUD like your mission. So you're working on this one like it's a mission. They don't have any way for you to do that for your feats. I feel like you should go to that feat menu. It takes a while to get there, so even more reason to let you pin the mission to your HUD. So say for instance, you gotta go start, you gotta go to D's, you gotta go to feeds, you gotta find which content you're running. Then once you get in that, then you gotta scroll up or down to figure out which feed you're trying to obtain. When you finally find it, maybe let's just hit, I don't know, triangle, R1, I don't know what the button should be. You just hit a button and boom, now it pins it to your main HUD. So now while you're out there battling, you can keep track of how far away you are from getting this feat completed. And I think you should allow 5-10 feats to be, or between feats and missions, 5 to 10 of them to be pinned at one time to your HUD so that you can keep track of it. I just think that's a huge quality of life improvement. Like they just came out with the Batman content, and I was over there. Some of my missions were hidden and I couldn't find them, and I was like, man, I wish I can go through and have a way to pin all of those to my HUD so that they're just right there. Boom. They're right there. I can see them at all times. I don't have to keep going back to my journal and pick the newest one or the one that I want to work on now that I'm finished with the other one. Just let me pin them all up there. I can see them all. I can work on them kind of all at the same time. I know some of the missions be in different zones, things like that, but at least you can see them all at the same time, get them done, without having to constantly keep stopping and going back into the menu to see how far you've come. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. I just think that would be cool, but if there's a reason that sucks, let me know. I mean, another thing I was thinking about was how about the whole fast travel, teleportation. How about allowing you to teleport to players you are grouped up with? So say for instance, I'm in Bottle DC, I'm fighting the sub avatar, and I'm grouped up with someone else. I'm like, hey man, this dude is down to 30%. You need to get over here quick. And you're like, all right, I'm on my way. Instead of having to get to the Hall of Heroes, that's what I call it. I can't remember what it's called. It's not the Hall of Justice, but whatever, the House of Heroes, Hall of Heroes, whatever it's called, House of Legends, something like that. Instead of going back there, then having to run to a machine that tell me I need to go to tier 6, that I need to go to Bottle DC, then I get to Bottle DC and I gotta fly across the map to get over to there. Wouldn't it be way easier if I just go into my friends list, onto my group list, and say, oh, boom, teleport to him. And now I teleport right to his location and I'm instantly there. I just feel like that's another quality of life improvement. I don't know why you would want to go the long way to get there. So I would think that would be something we could all agree on. But again, if you think that sucks, please tell me why that's not a good one. I think it's a good one. Came off the top of the domical. You know what I mean? So hey, let me know what y'all think about that. But I think it would be cool. And to go along with it, I think the map should have a similar feature where no matter where you are, Gotham, Metropolis, Casnia, Apocalyptic, Mogo, wherever, there are certain landmarks in every world that you visit. Why can't you simply go to the map and teleport directly to one of those landmarks? Like most RPGs have, hey, if you've been there, you can fast travel back to there again. I feel like that would be a great thing to add to the game, just to make some nice changes that make the game feel fresher, a little bit more better than it did from 15 years ago, because it's basically the same. But if you want to go to some bigger changes, I can name a couple of those too. And I'm always gonna continue to say, wouldn't it be cool if the DPSs out here all were balanced? So for instance, a sorcery DPS, I feel like, should be able to put out the same amount of damage as a rage DPS or an electric DPS. Like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear that the rage DPS and the electric DPS are known to be able to put out huge amounts of damage. So I can say that in the missions that I've been in with those types of power sets, they're usually top 3. You know what I mean? So why is it that some of the other power sets are so weak? I feel like nothing should get nerfed, but the other power sets should get a damage boost potential, meaning that you shouldn't just get more damage for the sake of just having more damage, but it should be more damage because I have all of the latest equipment just like this other power set does. I have upgraded all my equipment just like the other power set did. So I feel like we should be able to both put out around the same amount of damage. It shouldn't be he gets to put out, let's just say for easy numbers, he gets to put out 100 million, on a regular run of whatever alert or raid or whatever, and me with the same gear, same everything, leveled up to the same way, can only put up 60 or 70 million, giving it everything I got. Like, I think that should be more evened out. So say like maybe he might put out 100 million, and maybe my build isn't as great as his, so I should still be able to put out 90 million, 95 million, somewhere in the ballpark. I shouldn't be just so far lower than, this other person just because he has a specific power set, But I don't know, that sounds like it might be a little bit too much work for them to even do, because they can't even give me 50% off in the store, you know what I mean? So I don't know. And another big change that I'm just gonna mention real quick in passing, because this is the one I think I mentioned multiple times. Go ahead and work on the targeting system and the controls for the game. Can this please stop feeling so laggy in the controls? Can you make them feel a little bit more sharp? You know, for instance, some enemies, when you go and you attack them first, you hit them with a move. It could be a stun move, it could be this move, that move. Sometimes they still are able to get a move off even though you ambushed them and they didn't even know you were there. Like, I feel that's a lagginess to the game. It's not cleaned up. You know what I mean? Can we get that tightened? It's 2025. Game came out almost 15 years ago, like I said. We can't tighten that up a little bit. You know what I mean? As well as the controls and the targeting system, whereas can we just do line of sight? I feel like we're not even getting line of sight. It just pick a random person off to your far left and your far right to target, and then a move that's supposed to be an AoE is hitting off to the sides where you wanted to aim directly in the middle of it all to get the most damage out of it. But the control system is super outdated, and I just wish that they would go ahead and make a change with that as well. I'm just gonna keep on throwing that out anytime I mention quality of life, because I feel that fits in that category perfectly. But I don't know, again, y'all can tell me what y'all think. I'm just, old guy shouting at the clouds type of thing. You know what I mean? But that's all I got for you guys. Thank you if you made it this far. Thank you for watching. I definitely truly appreciate it. Again, I truly have a soft spot for this game, and I just want to see it excel. I don't want to see it die off in the next couple of years because of the player base dying down. And I hope I feel like a lot of you feel the same way that I do. But again, thank you. I just want to quickly mention that, again, I did start a new channel. It's all about Soulslike games and the challenges they are supposed to bring. So if you're into that kind of thing, come and join me at Bonfire Chillin with BigDog. I will leave a link in the description. Again, thank you for listening. I appreciate you all. Have a good one.